something is very wrong in the valley, and Casey Dutton is about to find out just how dangerous his new life as a U.S. Marshal can be. The trailer for Marshals Episode 2 just dropped, and it's absolutely insane. What looked like a fresh start for Casey quickly turns into a nightmare filled with secrets, betrayal, and a mission that could cost innocent lives. But the most shocking part? The threat he's chasing might be connected to the dark history of the Dutton family itself. Casey thought leaving the ranch behind would help him escape the past. But the past has a way of hunting Duttons down. And in this episode, Casey isn't just chasing criminals anymore. He's walking straight into something far bigger, something that could destroy everything he's trying to rebuild. Casey Dutton wanted a new beginning. After everything he went through, after all the loss, the violence, and the painful memories, becoming a U.S. Marshal seemed like the right step forward. It looked like a chance to leave the darkness of the ranch behind and focus on something meaningful. But the trailer for Marshals Episode 2 makes one thing very clear. Peace is not something that follows a Dutton for long. From the very beginning of the trailer, the tension is already heavy. Casey is still trying to adjust to his new role, but it's obvious that he hasn't completely found his place yet. His teammates are watching him closely, trying to figure out who he really is. Being a Dutton already puts a target on his back, and not everyone on the team is ready to trust him. The title of this episode, Zone of Death, immediately tells us that something extremely dangerous is coming. The Marshals receive information about a possible domestic terror attack, and suddenly the entire team is thrown into a high-risk operation. This is not a small criminal case. This is the kind of mission where one wrong move could lead to massive destruction. Casey quickly finds himself in the middle of it, forced to prove that he deserves to wear the badge. But the danger isn't just coming from the criminals they're chasing. The trailer hints that this mission will take Casey into a place connected to the Dutton family's past, a place filled with buried secrets. For someone like Casey, that's more than just another assignment. That's personal. The Dutton legacy has always been complicated, filled with battles, enemies, and decisions that left scars behind. And now it seems like some of those scars are about to reopen. While Casey tries to focus on the mission, the tension inside the team continues to grow. Andrea still feels like an outsider among the group. Coming from a completely different background, she's constantly trying to prove that she belongs there, but the others don't make it easy for her. Belle, especially, continues to challenge her at every step. Their rivalry becomes even more noticeable in the trailer, and it's clear that their patience with each other is slowly running out. Andrea may have stayed quiet before, but this episode might finally push her to fight back. Meanwhile, Casey is stuck in the middle of all this tension. He's dealing with his own struggles, trying to manage his past trauma while stepping into one of the most dangerous jobs in the country. But instead of showing weakness, Casey does what he has always done. He moves forward quietly, carrying the weight on his shoulders without complaining. The rest of the team may not understand him yet, but they're starting to notice something different about him. While others react with fear or anger after violent encounters, Casey remains calm, almost controlled, as if he has already faced worse things in his life. That calm attitude could either become the team's greatest strength or the thing that makes them question him even more. But the biggest emotional moment hinted at in the trailer might not involve the mission at all. It involves Tate. Casey's relationship with his son has always been complicated, and after everything that happened to their family, both of them are trying to figure out how to move forward. Tate grew up mostly with Monica, and Casey knows he hasn't always been there the way a father should be. Now that he's trying to rebuild his life, he also wants to rebuild that connection with his son. The trailer shows that this relationship will continue to play an important role in the story. Casey isn't just fighting criminals anymore. He's fighting for the chance to be the father Tate deserves. And sometimes that fight can be even harder than any mission. But just when it seems like Casey might finally be finding some balance between his job and his personal life, the situation takes a darker turn. The operation the Marshals are preparing for becomes more complicated than anyone expected. New information suggests that the people behind the planned attack might be connected to something buried deep in Dutton territory. And that's when the real danger begins. Because if there's one thing everyone knows about the Dutton name, it's that the past never stays buried for long. And in Marshals Episode 2, Casey might be forced to confront parts of that past he never wanted to see again. The moment the Marshals realize the scale of the threat, the entire atmosphere changes. What first looked like a routine high-risk operation quickly turns into something much bigger. The trailer makes it very clear that this mission is not just about stopping a few criminals. This is about preventing a disaster. Intelligence reports suggest that a dangerous group is preparing something that could shake the entire region. No one knows the exact target yet, but one thing is certain: if the Marshals fail, innocent lives will be at risk. For Casey, this is the moment where his new life truly begins to test him. Being a Marshal isn't just about carrying a badge or chasing criminals. It's about making decisions under pressure. Decisions where even a small mistake can cost lives. The team is preparing for the operation, but the tension between them is impossible to ignore. Trust has not fully formed yet, and in a job like this, trust is everything. Some members of the crew still see Casey as an outsider. To them, he is not just another Marshal. He is a Dutton. And the Dutton name carries a heavy reputation. People know the stories. They know the violence, the power struggles, and the enemies that followed that family for years. So when Casey joins the team, some of them can't help but wonder if trouble will follow him here as well. But Casey isn't interested in proving himself with words. He has never been that kind of man. Instead, he focuses on the mission. Quiet, calm, and always watching. The trailer shows several moments where Casey notices details that others might miss. Small things, strange movements, suspicious behavior. These little observations begin to show the team that Casey may actually be one of the sharpest minds among them. Still, not everyone is convinced. Belle continues to question him openly. She's confident, fearless, and not afraid to challenge anyone on the team. In her eyes, Casey still has something to prove. Belle believes that being a Marshal requires complete focus, and she worries that Casey's complicated past might cloud his judgment. Their tension becomes one of the most interesting dynamics hinted at in the trailer. Every conversation between them carries a quiet challenge, like two strong personalities testing each other. Andrea, on the other hand, seems to view Casey differently. She understands what it feels like to be underestimated. Coming from a completely different environment, she had to fight hard to earn her place in this team. While others question Casey, Andrea watches him carefully, trying to understand the kind of man he really is. And what she sees surprises her. Casey does not act like someone trying to impress people. He does not chase attention or approval. He simply does his job. And sometimes, that quiet strength speaks louder than anything else. As the mission begins to unfold, the Marshals start tracking the group responsible for the possible terror attack. The deeper they dig, the stranger the situation becomes. Clues begin pointing toward an area connected to the Dutton land, a place with a dark reputation, a place where things have happened that no one likes to talk about. This is where the episode title, Zone of Death, starts to make sense. The area they are investigating has a history filled with violence and mystery. People who go there often leave with more questions than answers. Some never come back at all. And now, the Marshals are walking straight into it. For Casey, this mission is no longer just professional. Every step closer to that valley feels like stepping back into the shadows of his own past. Memories he tried to bury begin creeping back into his mind. The ranch, the fights, the endless battles his family faced. But Casey cannot afford to lose focus. Because while the past may be catching up to him, the danger in the present is very real. The group they are tracking is not careless. They are organized, patient, and extremely dangerous. These are not amateurs. These are people who have been planning something for a long time. And the Marshals may already be one step behind. The trailer hints at several moments where the operation becomes unpredictable. The team faces unexpected resistance, forcing them to adapt quickly. Situations escalate faster than anyone expected, pushing every member of the crew to their limits. This is where Casey's experience begins to shine. Unlike some of the others, Casey has spent years surviving in dangerous environments. He understands how quickly things can turn violent. He understands fear, and more importantly, he understands how to control it. When chaos begins to grow around them, Casey remains focused, calm, calculating. Slowly, the team starts to notice. Maybe this quiet man carrying the Dutton name is not the problem they feared. Maybe he is exactly the kind of marshal they need. But just when things seem to be moving in the right direction, the trailer drops one of its biggest hints. A shocking discovery connected to the Dutton family emerges during the investigation. Something buried in the past that could change how Casey sees everything. And suddenly the mission becomes even more dangerous. Because now Casey is not just fighting criminals, he might be fighting the truth about his own family. The deeper the Marshals move into this investigation, the more dangerous everything becomes. At first, the team believed they were simply tracking a group planning a domestic terror attack. But the trailer for Marshals Episode 2 hints that the situation is far more complicated than anyone expected. What they discover in the valley slowly begins to change the entire direction of the mission. This place, this so-called zone of death, carries a dark reputation. For years, rumors have surrounded the area. Strange disappearances, old conflicts, stories of people who crossed the wrong line and were never seen again. Most people treat those stories like myths, something whispered about but never proven. But now the Marshals are stepping directly into that history, and what they find there might finally bring those secrets into the light. For Casey, this is where the emotional pressure starts to grow stronger. At first, he tried to treat the mission like any other assignment, focusing only on the job in front of him. But the more they investigate the valley, the more the past begins to feel personal. The Dutton name has always been connected to land, power, and conflict. Casey knows that better than anyone. And now he's beginning to realize that the valley they're investigating might hold pieces of that complicated legacy. The trailer hints that the team discovers evidence suggesting that something terrible happened there years ago, something connected to people who crossed the Dutton family. These buried stories might explain why the valley has become the perfect hiding place for dangerous groups. Criminals often choose places where the truth is already hidden, places where people are afraid to look too closely. And the zone of death seems to be exactly that kind of place. While the team continues gathering information, the pressure inside the group starts rising again. Missions like this demand perfect teamwork, but the cracks between the members are still visible. Belle continues to challenge Andrea whenever she gets the chance. The tension between them feels stronger in this episode, almost like a storm building slowly before finally exploding. Andrea is no longer the quiet newcomer who simply accepts the criticism. She's starting to push back. The trailer hints at a moment where Andrea finally confronts the constant pressure she's been dealing with. For someone who already feels like an outsider, being pushed too far can eventually trigger a reaction. And when Andrea reaches that point, the entire team will feel it. Casey notices this conflict as well. He understands how dangerous internal tension can be during an operation. A team that doesn't trust each other becomes vulnerable, especially when they are facing enemies who are organized and prepared. Casey may not openly involve himself in their arguments, but he watches carefully, trying to understand each member of the crew. What he sees begins to shape his role within the team. Casey has always been someone who carries silence with him. Instead of speaking too much, he studies people, he listens, and in moments of crisis, that ability to read others can become incredibly valuable. The trailer shows small glimpses of Casey stepping forward in subtle ways, helping guide the team without forcing himself into leadership. It's not loud or dramatic, but it's effective. At the same time, the emotional side of Casey's life continues to develop. His connection with Tate remains one of the most important parts of his story. Even while dealing with dangerous missions, Casey knows that his relationship with his son is something he cannot ignore anymore. Tate is growing up in a world filled with confusion and loss, and Casey understands that being present in his life is more important than ever. The trailer hints at moments where Casey reflects on the choices he has made. Becoming a marshal might help him protect others, but it also brings new risks into his life. Risks that could once again affect the people he loves. And that fear quietly follows him through the entire episode. Meanwhile, the investigation itself begins to uncover disturbing clues. The group responsible for the planned attack appears to know the valley extremely well. That means they may have been operating there for a long time. The Marshals slowly realize that they might not just be preventing one attack. They might be uncovering an entire network that has been hiding in the shadows. The closer they get to the truth, the more dangerous the situation becomes, because the enemy is watching them too. The trailer suggests that the Marshals may walk directly into a trap at some point during the episode. Every step they take deeper into the valley increases the risk. And if the criminals truly understand the area better than the Marshals do, then the team could suddenly find themselves in a situation where escape becomes extremely difficult. This is where Casey's instincts will matter the most. Years of surviving brutal conflicts have taught him something many people never learn. Sometimes the greatest danger is the one you don't see coming, and the zone of death is filled with hidden dangers. But the most shocking twist hinted at in the trailer may not involve the criminals at all. It might involve something buried much deeper within the valley, something connected to the history of the Dutton family that Casey never expected to face again. If those secrets finally come to light, they could change the way Casey sees his own legacy. And once that truth surfaces, there may be no turning back. As the investigation pushes deeper into the valley, the situation becomes more dangerous with every step. The Marshals thought they were hunting a group preparing a terror attack, but the trailer for Marshals Episode 2 suggests something even darker is unfolding. The enemy they're chasing isn't just hiding, they're waiting. And slowly, it begins to feel like the Marshals are not the hunters anymore. The valley itself starts to feel like a character in the story. It's quiet, isolated, and filled with the kind of tension that makes every movement feel risky. The team knows they're getting closer to the people responsible, but the strange thing is how little resistance they face at first. That silence makes the situation even more unsettling. Experienced officers understand that when things are too quiet, it usually means trouble is coming. Casey senses it before anyone else says it out loud. Years of living in dangerous environments have taught him how to recognize when something isn't right. The small details begin to bother him. The lack of movement, the strange patterns in the area, the feeling that someone might be watching them from a distance. While the rest of the team continues focusing on the mission plan, Casey starts paying attention to the surroundings. And that instinct might end up saving their lives. Inside the team, the tension continues to grow. The pressure of the mission is starting to affect everyone. Belle remains aggressive and determined, pushing forward with confidence even when the risks become obvious. She believes hesitation can get people killed, and in her mind, the best strategy is to stay on the offensive. Andrea sees things a little differently. Coming from a different background, she tends to question the plan more carefully. She notices the same strange details Casey is seeing and begins to feel that the team might be walking into something they don't fully understand. The trailer hints at a moment where Andrea challenges the direction of the operation, creating another clash with Belle. This time the conflict is stronger than before. Andrea is no longer willing to stay quiet while being dismissed. She pushes back, standing her ground in front of the team. For the first time, the others begin to realize that Andrea may be stronger than they assumed. Her perspective might actually be the one that prevents the mission from going completely wrong. Casey quietly supports her concerns. He doesn't turn the situation into an argument, but he acknowledges that something feels wrong about the entire setup. The problem is that the team has already moved too far into the valley to simply walk away. The mission must continue. And that's when the trailer hints at the moment everything changes. The Marshals suddenly find themselves facing unexpected resistance. The group they've been tracking is far more organized than anyone predicted. These are not desperate criminals acting randomly. These are people who understand strategy, people who planned their movements carefully, which raises a terrifying possibility. What if the Marshals were expected to come here? What if this entire valley was chosen for a reason? The idea that the operation might be turning into a trap begins to spread through the team. Suddenly, every decision becomes critical. Every step forward could lead them directly into danger. The criminals know the terrain better than anyone, and in a place like this, that advantage can change everything. Casey realizes that the mission is no longer just about stopping an attack, now it's about survival.